Translanguaging Framework Introduction. Now, when we talk about bilingualism, we are talking about the states of the language. When we are talking about bilinguality, we are talking about the individual's knowledge of one or two or more languages. Now, when we are talking about translanguaging, then we are focusing on the discourse practices of the bilinguals. And that's the main way in which bilingualism differs from translanguaging. However, having said that, we need to remember that the concept of translanguaging is built on bilingualism or bilinguality. It is argued that when the bilinguals are using a language, though consciously and subconsciously, they are aware of the differences between the different languages they are using, but while they are speaking, their expertise over the use of the language that they have is such that they do not see actually the clear-cut boundaries between languages. And we have argued this before, that in real-life situations, you will realize that people actually do not differentiate as such in the boundaries of the languages they know. It might be there if you compare a foreign language with a local language, but when and at what point does Saraiki change into Punjabi and Punjabi overlaps with Saraiki? It is difficult to know because there are several fuzzy boundaries in between. And we discussed this earlier also. And that is precisely because of the complexity of the languages and how they are used in real-life situations. So we will talk in this coming lecture and coming modules, we will be discussing bilingual language use and bilingual contact. These two main things within a framework of translanguaging, and this is built upon the construct of language borrowing. That is, the whole translanguaging involves language borrowing. Of course, it involves bilingual contact. So the person you're contacting with need also know those languages in which you want to communicate with that person. And of course, it means use of multiple languages at a given time. Very much similar to code switching, but much more complex. So as we said that before, we will discuss code switching as a part of translanguaging and not vice versa. So what we see is that translanguaging is actually a response to the communicative intent, to the response to the person within a social context within which this communication is taking place. And the last thing that we are saying is that we must see translanguaging or bilingual use of language as not a deficiency, but actually an enrichment in which they have this whole vocabulary of two different languages or three different languages to speak about. And remember, when we are talking about language codes, these are not just empty language codes. Behind these language codes, there is a culture. So there are different ways of looking at things. There are different ways of expressing what you want to say. So we are dealing with multiple realities also over here. And how the bilinguals, when they translanguage, they try to map one cultural reality over the other, adapt things, adapt words. How do they merge things? This is what translanguaging is about.